Season 1, Jeff, Barracuda, and the North American Sweethearts bring it home under the banner of Cognitive Pride.
No one thought had a chance at the finals coming into this event. Coming as the number 2 seed. MilitooOo down, ripping through, Titan down, falls 3, a double kill for himself. It's a 5-man run. They're gonna go for the win.
The world champions, Cognitive Pride, GG!
Season 2, we say hello to Europe as Adapting and Epsilon eSports slam it home.
Make a huge play. Adapting's about to go up. He's going to come crashing down. Who's the target? It's going to be all 3, and 2 will get stunned out.
Oh, no.
He's taking tons of damage.
Oh, no.
Chaos wants to move forward.
They don't have enough time for this. They don't have enough time for this.
Go. It's a deicide. Ladies and gentlemen, Epsilon eSports.
Season 3, new name, same roster. 2-time world champions, Rapper and NRG.
Well, there's 4 members left, and into the sky goes Adapting. The ultimate's rained down. The Titan is under siege. NRG are looking to be world champions again. Long live the king! And once again, the king is Europe.
Season 4, Polar Bear Mike brings it back for America. E-United slams the hammer.
Kraken and knocked back. There's Deathwalker controlling things. maniaKK takes down Wlfy. Where's the remainder of the team fight?
Deathwalker falls to Benadu, and E-United keeps on going because maniaKK
That's 2! Still pushing forward. They're at the Titan. Only 2 members to play defense.
They can't do it!
And that's the game. That's the series. That is your Smite World Championship. Say hello to your North American victors, Polar Bear Mike and E-United.
Season 5, new map, new players, new teams, same destination. Who raises Thor's hammer? The Smite Pro League.
Welcome to the Smite Pro League, getting started here with week 4, the back half of the split, Finch and Taco, as you take a look at Europe, and it really is just a stacked day of action. It's just going to be so important.
Everything's coming full circle now, considering how things shook out in week number 1, and now that we're back in week number 4, this is where you start to see some of those revenge matchups take place.
These are so big when we come back around, in particular here for the first one we're going to be looking at, NRG up against Rival, because Rival 2-0'd them the last time they played. That really kind of shook things up and pushed NRG down. Now a chance for NRG to come in and try and find some revenge. But that's not the only big matchup. Dig up against Mouse with their roster changes are going to be coming later. E-United versus Space Station tomorrow. It's a stacked week of really important matches.
A lot is on the line right now for these teams. Everybody's aiming to try and get the contingency factor qualifying into Worlds. But I think that's a really exciting aspect of view of it also, is that you know that the teams are just trying to buckle it down for the final run of the fall split.
That's right. Those top 2 spots are so important to try and earn that ticket right to DreamHack in particular. But if you want to grab your ticket, you don't have to earn a top 2 spot. Just got to go to hi-rezexpo.com November 16th through 18th, where the whole Smite World Championship culminates. Console, they've been grinding to make it there as well too. Paladins console. It's so much action that you're getting really just for the 1 ticket price. You're going to want to absolutely make sure you're there. It is going to be crowded with Smite fans, hi-rez fans of all caliber. You definitely want to be one of them.
And just in case you might not have had your chance to say hey to some of your favorite pros or even some of the staff, you'll have a great opportunity to do so at the after party that takes place following the World's event.
That's right. People might be running around a little bit busy during the event itself. You don't want to miss games. You want to make sure that you're there watching everything that goes on. But the after parties where everybody kind of unwinds a little bit, has some fun. Everybody gets to hang out. So you want to make sure you're there for that. hrxafterparty.eventbrite.com. $50. Pick up that pass and make sure that you're there at the party. That's not the only thing, though. If you want to get a little bit more enjoyment here in the meantime, go ahead and make sure you have your accounts linked up to Mixer. That way you don't miss out on that SPL Bologna once it drops.
And I know how many of you guys back at home have been asking for the skin nonstop for the past season already. So you guys don't have to hit up Auburn any longer for the codes.
That's right.
I promise you, you'll still have a few of those. But if you want this skin, now's your chance to go get it.
Yeah, that's just something we bring. Want to make sure you're locked in so that you can absolutely grab that skin when it does end up getting dropped. But let's go ahead and take a look where everyone's already sort of shaken up based on that first half of the split that we saw a little bit early on. Dignitas almost untouched, essentially. 5-0, have not lost a full set. Rival, NRG, and Obey all clumped up right behind them.
They've taken a couple of hits, pretty tough, but on the chin. I think that Dignitas came in with a resurgence of life for the fall split.
Yeah.
After how everything shook out in summer, they were not looking to be missing out any further LAN opportunities, and this is a primary example of exactly what you need to do if you want to find yourself auto-qualifying to Worlds.
That's right, giving themselves the easiest possible route to get there. And I mean, it has been a tough path, right? The way that it went in spring with that finals and losing there, not even making it to the summer LAN, right? How that one ends up shaking up. So now they're trying to make sure they're in the best possible spot to win. But we'll get to that matchup a little bit later. The first one that we're looking at going to be NRG up against Rival. And NRG recognized not just how important this matchup is, but really this entire week. They have so much on the line here, Taco. I even had a chance to talk a little bit with EmilZy about just how important all these sets were and had a chance to hear some of his thoughts. All right, I'm sitting here with EmilZy, support for NRG. Obviously, y'all know one of our better players, been around for such a long time at this point. First thing I got to ask you, man, you all have a really busy week coming up. You're going to play Dignitas here in a moment, and you got Rival later on in the week. Let me ask about the Rival one first. I mean, it's been so up and down over there in the EU. Just how are y'all feeling about your chances and in such a crowded field?
Well, I think after the very slow start, we definitely have to win a lot. Especially against Rival, right? It's going to be one of our most important sets because we already lost to Rival. So if we lose to Rival again and we end up in a scenario where we are like equal, right? They'll just have they're better than us, right? Because they beat us twice. So it's really important to win this set more than anything. I think it's probably the most important game we have for the rest of the split.
I think you're right. There's a good chance you could end up tied with them. So you got to make sure that you actually have that going in your favor. So that's going to be the Rival set that's coming up. You also have to worry about Dig. I mean, it's so tough over there in Europe. I mean, and it feels like no one's been able to figure out how to beat Dig here in this online split. What do you all feel like you all can do? You don't have to give away too much, but what has you all feeling confident going into that match?
Well, I mean, if you look back at the first week, we had obviously players just coming back from vacation and stuff. It took a long break. And I think that led to us not understanding the meta so well, which is my explanation every time. And it's also just a big portion of us not playing well. But I mean, that was like with Baron, right? Like we would first pick Baron Zambi, and then that got like Cerberus Fafnir, and those got like very good against Baron, and then we just lose like 4 games in a row, right? Because we really valued Baron poorly, and then we fixed it, and then the next week we followed like 2 out Mouse and 2 out Obey. So I mean, we can try our best to adapt, and I think we have a better understanding of the meta now. That's kind of how we always do it. We just learn more and more progressively throughout the split. So I think we're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think y'all have a good chance to grab this one. You already talked about that Rival game and how you're going to be able to get that. I mean, what's y'all's read just on, I guess, EU as a region right now? It really does feel like anyone in any moment could beat anyone else. Is that just how it feels for you all too?
Yeah, I feel like at least the top 5 teams, no offense to SK, but I feel like the Mouse and those teams, like every team can take games from each other, and it's going to be insanely competitive, and everyone really wants to win now, right? Everyone's going to put in that extra effort, and I think we've seen some of the best games like all year this split. We're thinking like Obey Dick, and when we played Dick as well, like there's so many close calls. So it's been super exciting.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The fall split really feels like it always is the strongest one. Well, again, this is EmilZy here, support for NRG. Good luck in y'all set here coming up against Dick. Well, that was getting to hear there from EmilZy, and I love getting to hear from him. And he said it there, Taco, and I'm sure you agree how important this matchup up against Rival really is, considering they already lost to him once.
NRG and EmilZy especially have a very in-depth understanding of how competitive Europe is as a whole right now for the SPL. I think that this region has definitely surpassed a lot of our standards, or a lot of our expectations, I should say, for what we can witness out of these players. But I love the idea here, though, from EmilZy initially. I think that they seriously understand that this is the most important set of the split for them, and I could not agree more.
Yeah, they just can't afford to be in a situation where the tiebreaker just automatically goes to Rival, basically, because they're down 2-0 to them, right? And that if they end up tied with them towards the end, that could really hurt them, so they know they have to win this. And you heard EmilZy say it, right? They came in after the summer LAN, and maybe they didn't have as much time to get ready. They took some vacations, too, to try and relax and unwind after that and make sure they were ready for fall. And maybe Dig came in a half step ahead of them, right? They overvalued the Baron a little bit too much and ended up getting punished on that and didn't understand the match. matchups. Now, though, that won't be the same case. They're going to come in here up against Rival fresh, ready to go, and fully in the swing of this fall split meta right now. So you should consider this one. You almost forget about that last match. This should be very even between the two.
I also think that NRG for what it's worth can tend to struggle at times when the meta is as open as it currently stands.
Sure.
Right now, just about anything goes as long as you can make a relatively decent composition based around whether it's CC picks, whatever floats your boat, it doesn't matter. The fact is, you can take just about any 5 gods and make them work if there's a general concept behind it.
And for what it's worth, I mean, Rival, as good as they've been, they don't look perfect, I would say, at this point in the split. They definitely look strong, but there have been a few times where it seemed like they've been a little bit not connected, where their picks and bans haven't been right where they should be. But they're the kind of team that I trust to clean that up in a big way. You know, they've got alphaDeco looking out for them. They've got one of the best of minds here for this game. I feel like with Deathwalker, sure, he likes to have a little bit of fun, but he also is one of the best players that you could ever have on your team. He's always picking unique stuff and feels like a bit ahead of the meta, so I trust this squad to be able to clean that up and come in looking good against NRG here.
I can't help but take notice of what iceicebaby and Deathwalker have been able to accomplish so far in this fall split. These two particularly have felt on fire with the other. Their synergy, next level, and I think that if they're able to maintain that throughout this set, then that could pose a lot of issues for adapting and maniaK respectively. I think that maniaK does tend to have a little bit of a tougher time in the laning phases. Again, though, drawing this back to a comparison I've made earlier on, where maniaK feels a little bit like Dimmy's old playstyle for NRG.
Yeah.
He won't necessarily take a winning matchup, and he'll be fine with forfeiting his initial laning pressure,
sure,
so long as it means bringing in a great team fight. And I can think that we can expect to see good team fights out of NRG every single time they hit the battlefield.
Yeah, I think this match really is going to rely a lot on the jungle min matchups, right? How are adapting Yammyn up against iceicebaby and Wlfy going to end up shaking out? That could really be important. And as we move into the picks and bans, I'm curious about how the picks are going to change too. iceice's been playing a lot of that Naja, but he's been changed. He hasn't been getting valued as highly, I feel like, since the changes on the way his passive works. Is iceice going to be able to keep playing at that high level, moving away from that, or is he going to just keep piloting the Naja? I'm very interested in where Rival goes in the jungle.
Heavy contest over Raven, I would imagine, because Adapting's already showed a lot of favoritism towards that god, and he feels, in a sense, kind of like a Naja in terms of isolating members. And I think, specifically for Rival, what would probably work best for them is if they can manage to break apart NRG. But same could be said both directions, though. Right. That's probably NRG's exact mentality when trying to tackle Rival.
As good as NRG are, Rival, I feel like, do kind of have the crown of just good team fighting, it just feels like. So maybe it might lean a little bit their way, but Rival going to right off the bat prioritize this Chernobog. And this does have some potential to go to Wlfy or over to Vote. I think Vote we've seen play a little bit more, would probably be fair to say, but Chernobog certainly has potential in either lane, and it's NRG actually are going to pick up this Naja. As good as Naja is, I think a little bit of that is just making sure Ice doesn't have it.
Picks being stripped away from both sides. Chernobog, you take that away from Yammyn, so you don't have to worry about NRG trying to introduce some kind of double hunter composition, but now NRG are being threatened by the Pele. This is what we were waiting for. We have been waiting for some Pele action in the SPL, and Rival finally going to bring it to us, but I'm not sold on it being jungle just yet.
Me neither. We got to see a little bit more out of it before we know 100% where it's going, as it looks like Rival will be going the double hunter composition, since they do have the Chernobog, or not double hunter, but double auto attack with that soul coming in. You very much feels like a hunter with like a mage kit in there. But Puch going to come out for Yammyn Taco. This is already shaping up to be a huge matchup. All right, let's say that I haven't been able to play much yet. Kind of give me a bit of primer on where Pele is, how she's going to be fitting into this meta, depending on where she is, just what does she sort of bring?
Pele is a very high technical skill god. Your mechanics have to be through the roof if you want to really get the full viability out of her. But I think a large problem that this could pose for NRG is just in the early game specifically, because Pele has such heavy control. She's very mobile, probably arguably faster than Naja, even with the ring toss proc.
I think so.
In her third ability. And then on top of that, Wlfy's going to have pretty strong clear with the soul. As soon as he gets that heat passive going, then he'll be able to take down the wave. So my concern here is that Pele is going to run things in the jungle early game. I think that's why NRG is trying to supplement the rest of their draft with all of these slows, because the best way to try and target out of Pele is to just keep her smothered with crowd control. And I think Naja, ring toss, Puch, of course, everybody knows how much slows can be introduced, but the chase factor as well that NRG bring in with the Amaterasu, it's just very well thought out so far in their top 3 picks, and the Cerberus to help round things off, looking pretty good here for NRG.
That's pretty strong for them as the Hob Wa comes through. So I gotta think that then that this is going to be Hebo in the jungle and Pele very likely in the solo lane, sort of as we were alluding to, right? And then Kumbhakarna for support. Again, you can never say for sure. Rival can move things around, but that's sort of where it's looking like here early on as Apollo comes in to give them a little bit of a global presence out of their hunter position. I got to think this is to try and keep up with that Chernobog as well. But Taco, very exciting picks and bans right away here between these two teams.
This is a long shot, but if this is a Deathwalker Pele solo, I am expecting Soul Eater, Gladshield, Pele.
Yeah.
I think that's I'm going to make that call right now. That's my stake on this match if it's for Deathwalker. It might not be.
Well, I mean, what else could he take at this point? I mean, it's tough to tell with the way the composition's looking, but what about you all there in Mixer Chat? What do you think so far? Who's going to win this game? Rival up against NRG, a match with tons of implications. Remember, that top 2 spot is what you want to auto-qualify to DreamHack, to get out of that almost nightmarish placement stage where so many teams are going to be just battling it out over like 6 days. You want to make sure that you can avoid that, because who knows what can happen there. This is a set that has implications for that.
And I could not be more ready to see what happens between these two teams. Rival, they've got the burst, energy. They've got a lot of consistent initiation. So
yes.
Really curious to see who comes out on top between the two.
You got a favorite before we go into this, if you had to call it? Or
I'm leaning a little bit towards Energy's composition just
Sure.
because the slows, man. I can never factor out slows.
It seems a little easier to execute, right? Maybe than the Rival one.
I think that's where it really leads me off at, because Rival, you're working around the Kumbhakarna and the Habwa, but you might be relying on them a little bit too heavily.
Right. Well, we'll see if Rival can make it work, or Energy going to grab this game. No more delay. Let's move right into Game 1. Casters, take it away.
Thanks a lot, guys. Great job breaking things down. And right now, we're ready to see how everything is going to be handled. My name's Tom. I'm joined here by Ryan Agro Bailey. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Excited to see Pele get off to her first start in competitive play. And who else but Deathwalker?
Of course.
To take him to the solo lane, and he's going to rush the Soul Eater. And this is an item that I think works beautifully with Pele, because her passive is about getting low on HP. It's about using your abilities to gain lifesteal. And when you add that in with Soul Eater healing, you become nigh unkillable whenever that passive is up, if you're putting yourself in the right position.
And so we discussed this a little bit on Esports Weekly. By the way, if you missed it, we have moved Esports Weekly to Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Wanted to change up the schedule, and you guys know that so that you can keep up with us. Me and Finch discussed, well, I guess you were involved in it, about Pele's viability and all that. And actually, one of the conversations was, will she be in the solo lane or just in the jungle? And I actually leaned on she would very much be a jungler, less so in the solo lane. I compared her to Camazotz, and yet the first time we really see her, bam, here she is in the solo. Ryan, I guess the question is she going to be control-y like we see these other off-meta picks or off-roll picks in the solo lane, just build them tanky anyway? Or is she going to be a damage assassin?
I think she's going to be kind of bruiser-like. I kind of equate her to Wukong.
Wow.
ML going to have to use the beads and is still in a lot of trouble. Kalas's dash wasn't there, but still ML loses the beads and a lot of his HP. Though he does have a health potion and a multi-potion, so he should be healthier sooner rather than later. I think he's more like the way that Deathwalker's been playing Wukong as of late with Soul Eater, kind of this annoying disruptor, can't really lock it down very easily. And
a battle boar.
yeah, it doesn't feel like you're going to be carrying team fights, but you're going to be the, how did we lose that? You know, what went wrong there sort of character, where it kind of flies underneath the radar, but is really disrupting you.
She's really tough to kill, and I think her persistence in team fights will be a big part of her contribution. The fact that she's just not going to die, so she might not have the highest DPS, but if she's able to DPS you forever, well, it'll add up. So that kind of might be where she's going. The Soul Eater build that we're seeing right off the rip here, this is Deathwalker trying to leverage that passive. Of course, Pele, one of the newer characters. We'll break her down in just a moment. His vote's getting broken down here. Has to use the dash. Trouble for him. A nice mess. But so beautiful, not going to find it. EmilZy rooted out. Kalas, great defense from the support.
Love the way that EmilZy and emilitoo are playing this lane, even though it was emilitoo who lost the beats early and kind of got put behind. It's that potential for Ama to be aggressive in lane. Vote now trying to turn it around.
Yeah, the damage is there, but Vote still in a scary spot, so he's not already running up there. Adapting, very slimly staying alive, trying to defend the blue buff. Things don't go Energy's way, and so Rival will be able to get the invade. Nice invade for Rival as NRG was invading the red buff earlier on. So 1 for 1 so far, and with Rival picking up their own red buff this time around, everything all even as far as the buff camp invades. Until iceicebaby going to take care of those XPs.
This is what you expect when you have an assassin in the solo lane, is that ability to push a little bit more easily, to trade out a little bit more easily. And Yammyn is in trouble, immediately drops the ultimate and the Aegis. Don't think he realized, but Wlfy comes in and whiffs Stellar Burst. That means he's likely not going to pick up a kill, though adapting, going to keep the pressure going.
Yeah, Wlfy could be in some trouble, but Yammyn just no chance to really log up and get it done. And part of Yammyn's response there is he's early game Puch, and that's going to be his response to any aggression. But iceicebaby on the Hebo will just delete you.
Well, it was that Ice was level 4, and I don't think that Yammyn realized that there was no crushing wave available. Otherwise, I don't think he uses the Aegis. And Wlfy comes in with a weird pathing. If he's able to land the 2, that guarantees the ultimate, and then he gets that first blood. So it seems a little bit awkward. It was a little bit awkward that Wlfy ends up missing, but the idea there is that if that first ability lands, you've got a guaranteed kill.
Yeah. I also think, for what it's worth, part of it, Wlfy missing, who did they miss? Was it dodged? Yammyn walking towards the target is, I mean, you don't expect to, as an immobile mage, walk towards the opponent, right? I think that was just smart pathing coming from Yammyn as well, so nice stuff there. Deathwalker on the Pele. Interesting character. She's an assassin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the new character?
So the biggest thing in the solo lane is that we just saw it happen there for Deathwalker, and that's that her first ability, Pyroclasm, has 2 charges, and so that's what allows her to clear the wave pretty easily. It's fairly low damage, but you get 2 charges of it. When you add in both charges, it does a good amount of damage, plus it has that return nature. Think old Ratatosker or Acorns, think Thor double tap, where it'll eventually come back to you. And you get more projectiles that return to you as you level up the ability. So in solo lane, it just makes a lot of sense to be leveling that. The big thing is the ability to chase you down with the incredible movement speed steroid on her 3. She's got a huge knockup, but again, that requires points. So I think that putting her in the solo lane is that you look at her kit and she has multiple areas where putting points in the abilities doesn't just increase damage or lower cooldown, but it increased the effectiveness of the ability as a whole, namely the 1 and the 2. And so by putting her in solo, you're kind of guaranteeing that those first few levels where you need to get those in order to be effective are going to be there for the first team fight.
Yeah, and so putting her in the solo lane, like you said, I used to call the solo lane sort of like the oven, where you just put characters that aren't going to have an early game impact in the team fight. In the lane, it's a different story. You got to be able to hold your own. But characters in seasons past, we've seen characters like Bakasura kind of sit there, get farm up, and then transition into late game carries. I think that's kind of the mentality, whether she's going to be a carry or not. The idea is to kind of keep her away from the action until she has the relevant points. And then, as you said, the impact that she can make is even higher. That's that movement speed, by the way.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. It's also the one thing that works against this, though, is that Pele is widely thought of right now as a mostly early game character. Her late game can feel a little bit lacking at times. So Rival really needs to pick 1 or 2 fights in the mid game where Pele is going to be at her strongest before that damage starts to be a little bit less relevant, before she's just too easy to kill in the late game team fights where there's so much burst damage available. The Rival is going to be very, very selective with their fights and find the right ones.
Deathwalker, no stranger to the new characters. So no real surprise, honestly, to see him being the one to break this out. Invade coming out from adapting, and he'll get the camp, but he might be punished along the way. Deathwalker's going to be a target for the right G ultimate. Deathwalker left about half HP, and Yammyn brings him to 0. Nice combination there from NRG's mid lane jungle combination. Crushing Wave used more as a movement ability, and NRG, honestly, very healthy, very successful. Adapting was being coalesced on by 4 separate Rival players, and nothing happened. In fact, Rival get punished.
Rival get punished heavily, and that's the fact that you're an assassin still comes back to haunt you when you're playing into the solo lane, when you don't have any tank items quite yet. Deathwalker is going to die to win Fire Wheels.
Yeah.
Even if it's maniaKK there to follow up, that should be a guaranteed death just about every time. And we don't think of Puch usually as the big character that could burst you off of Naja ult. You think of Kumbhakarna and Ra and Scylla and gods like that. But if you get to lay down 3 corpses and use Corpse Explosion at the bottom, that's equivalent damage to a Ross Knight a lot of the time.
Absolutely. And I mean, the time that Naja's in the sky, I mean, yeah, you can lay down 3 corpses and have the explosion on landing. Yeah, Puch can absolutely do it. Yammyn right there shows how it's done. Puch has been devastating as of late. Honestly, it was really the change to he had multiple changes that kind of made him more and more interesting, but I think ultimately the change that really brought Puch back into the meta. iceicebaby chased away from the red buff. Is he gonna die here?
Very well could. No beads for him. Adapting's ultimate just now came up, and Yammyn is able to take care of it. Adapting didn't even worry about using the ultimate because Puch damage is a lot.
I love it. But the big deal here is because he can do this. So once upon a time, Puch was this weird character that you had to have 3 points in one ability and 2 points in another, and you had to balance these, and everything was all over the place. The change that brought Puch back to the world of play was the mentality that at all ranks now he gets 2 corpses on the raised dead or whatever it's called, the first ability that drops 10 corpses. When he had to level that up for multiple shots, it was just too much to balance.
It was, and it made his early game very, very weak. He couldn't really contest very well. His clear wasn't great right away without using 3 abilities, and anytime you have to use all 3 abilities to clear the wave, you're in a bad spot. Now he clears the wave quickly. Corpse Explosion does more damage without the corpses on the ground.
Which is less relevant, I feel like.
Less relevant, but still is relevant. It means that you don't need as many corpses to clear the wave because you're getting more damage without them. So
that's fair. I was more like, even with that change, I don't want to see you just Corpse Explosion somebody.
No, of course not. 100 damage.
Deathwalker taking 100 damage per shot. And he's going to get 3 shots right there. maniaKK following up on King Kenneth. And it's 3 kills to 0. Team Rival trailing by 2,000 gold.
Check out the jungle vision right now for Rival. No wards on that right-hand side of the map. That means Adapting's able to come on over. And a lot of that is down to communication from maniaKK saying, hey, he placed a ward here about this, you know, he placed it right now. Keep that timer in your head of how long that ward is going to be there. If iceicebaby or Kalas is coming over to help ward, that can be difficult to track to make sure you know that cooldown and how long you have until you've got a free gank lane. But if it's just a solo laner warning their own lane and maniaKK's there to see it, it makes it very easy to keep track and give Adapting a window to capitalize. And that at that point, the ball's in Adapting's court to get over there at the right time, and he's pretty good at that. So I would
just a little bit. Yeah. Not only is maniaKK able to communicate everything, but you could also counter ward, and we saw counter wards really come into play the last couple of weeks in here in the fall split. Just teams donating gold, not being willing to invest into the sentry wards, and the team that does invest finds himself in such a powerful position. So it's another route that maniaKK could go as far as having the knowledge over there, because he's certainly been able to handle himself thus far. EmilZy dashing forward, but that's it.
Man, that's so much poke damage though from NRG. I mean, that's a ring toss and a fleeting breath and a reflective mirror, but none of those got a ton of value. I mean, fleeting breath is probably the last thing that Yammyn's leveling right now. I imagine it's still the plan to level Undead Surge. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Oh, Deathwalker uses the ult. That dash right there is the ult. And he's going to be able to get on out of there. That said, maniaKK's still going to push. Bring Deathwalker down to about 40%. Collins knocking one to the sky. Hebo's on the ground. Yammyn rooted. The age is already over. And Wlfy able to find the last tap.
But iceicebaby committed the ultimate, and that puts him way out of position. He takes a couple tower shots, and he should end up dying for this. emilitoo close by. So beautiful. We'll get it done. Vote used Living Nightmare just in case, but realized it was a lost cause. Ice just didn't check his damage.
Yeah, that was a little bit rough there. Miscommunication, I suppose, as well. Ring toss going to put Kalas into the sleeping time, but Adapting not able to finish him. So the Kumbhakarna passive working out here for Kalas.
But that passive now down for a little bit longer, and Adapting doesn't need to commit anything else in order to stay up and alive. Rival definitely significantly on the back foot. And it's not just in solo lane, though that's definitely a big part of it. It's this duo lane. emilitoo's taking control. It's in mid. Yammyn is looking really good so far. Adapting is clearly in control of the jungle. Now, the late game for Rival is very good, just based on magical damage alone. But once emilZy gets a Heartward Amulet, that'll shut down a little bit of that damage. I think some anti-heal is going to be in order with these 2 Bancroft's Talons and the Soul Eater from Deathwalker. That's so much lifesteal itemization that I would be shocked if NRG doesn't go for some of that. But, man, this is it's not looking good for Rival.
Right now, Deathwalker seems to have found the opportunity to get out of that ultimate. We've seen him kind of struggle with this matchup so far, and I think he just kind of figured it out. I don't mean to imply that he didn't realize that he could ult out of maniaK's ultimate, but it's about a rhythm, it's about flow, you know. What you see on paper is so much different than what you can do in the game most of the time, and I think Deathwalker finally coming into that flow of how this solo lane's supposed to go also helps that he's level 13 and kind of, you know, have a little bit more wiggle room as far as his survivability is concerned.
There's so much more CDR for maniaKK, but that's just an outright win for NRG solo laner. He's got 20% CDR, whereas only 10 for Deathwalker from the Soul Eater. So you end up having Stygian Torment up earlier than that Volcanic Lightning, and now that's easy kill potential for NRG on that side of the map yet again. Now Deathwalker has hit 12 and picked up beads, so we'll help him.
iceicebaby stunned out here, but emilZy, the only one here, seems it doesn't matter. A ton of damage going out from a support player. Amaterasu is a warrior, but Vote, a warrior in his own right, doing tons of damage. Wlfy gonna take down emilZy. To the sky goes Kalas. It's adapting, bringing him down.
Kalas gonna fall to Yammyn's damage once he lands. Vote now under siege as Emil's already got himself a double, but Deathwalker's here and putting out that good damage.
maniaKK shows up and chases his enemy solo laner away. emilitoo walks away to see another day, and here he is, Apollo. This is one of the big parts of what Apollo does is Audacity allows him to chew through these towers, and he is chased away by DW, but Emil has already gotten that tier 1 on the left side. He did that in 12 minutes, by the way.
Did you see that healing? Deathwalker was 40% health and just went to 75, 80 because he had his passive active and a Soul Eater, and that was off 3 minions. There's no cap on that kind of stuff. Nope. He can literally full heal with Soul Eater. It's crazy. So anti-heal is definitely going to be a necessity for NRG. By the way, I got to say, I'm really excited that Emil's playing Apollo. I think that Apollo's been really underrated lately, and clearly put it on display here. He's second highest on the player damage charts. He's been in the critical fights. His ultimate has netted him 3 kills in total, basically. 1 by cleaning up ice by the red buff. There he gets a double kill on that team fight. And he's just able to join these fights and do so much and still maintain lane control against the Chernobog.
One more time, adapting to an ult. emilZy on the bottom, going to be waiting for him, but Kalas half HP. Yammyn dropped the ultimate already, now adapting the one on the run. iceicebaby, easy kill there. Yammyn unceremoniously takes care of one, but Emil on the backside going to take care of the support as well. And NRG 2-0 again here, Ryan.
They're making it look easy.
And NRG are just on a different level now.
Rival just seems a little bit discombobulated at this point. This Gold Fury's gone. No way Deathwalker gets here in time. Ice's position there looks horrendous, but it's really there to try and save Kalas. He pushes forward to keep Yammyn away to make sure that Corpse Explosion won't end up hitting and ultimately killing Kalas whenever he lands. But Yammyn respects the Hobwa damage enough to make sure he doesn't get hit by Crushing Wave. That drops iceicebaby's kill potential pretty much instantly. And from there, Rival is already losing their jungler. Kalas falls anyways because of the rotation from emilitoo. And it's a 2 for 0 where Rival commits a decent amount to try and stop it, and they still can't.
Yeah, I think Rival, you know, it's do we like the Pele pick?
I don't think it's the Pele pick. I think it's the Hebo pick. I think it's the Pele pick in conjunction with the Hebo pick.
That's where I was as well. I like Hebo jungle a lot, and I don't really know about Pele solo. I don't dislike it at the very least, but I don't like the combination of the two. I feel like there's a lack of frontline.
Well, it's lack of frontline. Yes, I agree with you. There also hasn't been a 5-on-5 fight yet where both solos were there, so that lack of frontline hasn't really been a factor yet. I think it will be.
Right. I'm more saying that maniaKK has been able to make rotations and make bigger impacts, and it's less about frontline in the sense of tanky targets to absorb damage, and the kits that go along with characters that traditionally can play frontline. maniaKK just has more control than Deathwalker does.
He does.
The character just does more in that regard, and so he's having a bigger impact here. When maniaKK Stygian torments and makes a rotation, that's a bigger deal than Deathwalker showing up.
It's just that it's the Naja more than... I think it's the
Yes.
Naja Cerberus getting pressure, and good beads from Deathwalker as that Windfire Wheels was coming. maniaKK will chase out that Volcanic Lightning as well, so they get 2 ultimates, but 2 ultimates used by Rival as well. As on this left-hand side, Vote's taking it to Emil.
Yeah, Emil, he's on the Apollo, though, and Apollo is a great character to box with. Here he's going to have the audacity in just a moment. 1 shot for each of them, and it's Vote that winds up with the last basic. The Hunter 1v1 successfully goes to Team Rival, and Vote backs on out of there before the gank comes through. Very rarely do we get the real 1v1.
Love it.
And honestly, Apollo, that's the dual character, but Emil just misses a couple of autos.
Well, normally, yes, but when Chernobog lands on you, he's got movement speed, he's got damage mitigation, and he's got his passive proccing on every auto attack, so he's just hitting harder than you, and you can't hit him hard anyways because of damage mitigation. And that's where the big difference was. It's Vote's ultimate that leads it off, is able to make up for the difference between the two. Plus, Vote has the Ichabal, whereas Emil does not.
That's a
Ichabal
big
lending
deal.
itself to that 1v1 very, very well. Look, Emil's still coming away from that saying he should have won it, and both Hunters are probably saying the same thing because they both missed some auto attacks. That's Hunter 1v1s. But it was just a good fight to take by Vote.
I think Emil actually very surprised that he didn't do this. Emil, very, very established Apollo player. As soon as Vote ults, right, and he comes down, he starts fighting you, full duration mess. Waste as much of that mitigation as possible and just sit.
We didn't see the very beginning of it. That might have been the start.
That's
but
fair.
But the damage mitigation with Vote being level 17 or 18 at the time was pretty high.
Absolutely true. Close one nonetheless. Deathwalker now adapting, using the Fire Giant as a little bit of help. Ooh, that was hot. And emilitoo here trying to take care of Deathwalker after he uses the ultimate to avoid adapting's ult. When it comes to the beads, you've got this second there's a second window for you to beads early, but that ultimate was Deathwalker had to read adapting right there. That was a cold hard read, baby.
Really well done, and emilitoo's ultimate was there to try and chase Deathwalker, but he was just a little bit too quick with that extra movement speed. But NRG going to try and force it here in the mid lane. Vote avoids it with a nice dash right into the wall. Now mid T1 goes down, but NRG still pushing.
Yammyn's going to make it rain here in the middle lane. One player goes up to the sky. Vote trying to do the same. Adapting, looking for the flank, but the vision from the Chernobog has really dispelled it. But everybody on Rival are relatively low. They've betrayed their tower. They've walked up, and NRG, looking to punish, are sieging forward.
Rival just doesn't do enough damage right now. iceicebaby isolated, has got to use his ultimate defensively in order to stay up and safe, but this poke damage from Yammyn is so potent. EmilZy's here to give the team movement speed and power as well, and this tier 2 still in danger.
And here comes adapting around the backside again. This time, there's no pesky Chernobog ultimate to really reveal him or betray where he is positioned. Adapting still not willing to hard commit. The call was to come back and join the team.
Iceice lurking, but man, he's only level 13. I mean, he can't do anything right now. He doesn't do enough damage.
Yeah, he's 0-4-2, and this is the downside for Hebo in the jungle. Deathwalker right now, lonely in the jungle, is relatively tanky. Pestilence into, what is that, a Berserker Shield?
Glad Shield.
Glad Shield, rather. Late, still very interesting, the timing of that item.
Adapting cleans up Ice pretty easily, pushing forward now, looking for Kalas. maniaKK gonna try and do the dirty work, and he'll put him in that sleepy time passive as Emil coming to assist.
Almost gets the knockup, but unsuccessful there. maniaKK waiting in the wings for Wlfy as Kalas was his first target. emilitoo going to be able to take care of Wlfy. 4 players down. Vote, the only one alive. The ultimate will be up soon, but NRG going to try the Fire Giant anyway, despite the fact that there are a couple of players that are half HP. And Vote, what is the cooldown of the ultimate?
It's coming up, but there's no way he comes to contest this anyways. I mean, he would be flying into 4 members. Even if they're half health, they're going to kill him and likely get fire. Rival just... You took a look at the damage recap there from the teamfight recap. the damage was pretty even.
Yeah.
It's just that Rivals is so spread out. Energies is so much more focused. Rival made their name by working better as a unit than everybody else. And then came the individual prowess that everyone was excited about. It feels like Rival has lost that old self. They are playing very individualistic. They aren't working as a unit very well. Their macro game has really struggled as of late, which was always a strength of theirs. Basically, they've thrown out the old and have gone with the new.
And I don't like the new.
And the new is not very good for them.
No.
They need to go back to what they were doing before. And look, it's very easy to sit here from the armchair and go, win again, you know? It's obviously not that simple. But I just feel like there's something different about this Rival team right now. Maybe it's that the friendship that was always a defining factor for them, maybe that's struggling for them. Maybe they're having internal problems. I have no idea. Pure speculation. All I know is that Rival looks like a very different team right now than they did Season 3, Season 4, beginning of Season 5. There's just a different air about it.
You're not going to get a dissenting opinion from me. I completely agree. It seems, and again, outside looking in, it seems like the approach to the game, gone to their head is the wrong terminology, because I don't mean it to sound as negative as that sounds. Energy pushing on the left-hand side. Really what I mean is Rival won, and they got good. I think they just got really proud of being good and just decided and have been depending on being better than other teams. Right now, Energy making that look like the wrong decision. maniaKK at the back end trying to handle, but Deathwalker trades out. emilitoo getting the kill, but here comes Vote landing right between a whole bunch of players. That mitigation good enough. emilitoo up top almost gets the knock-up. Tier 2 tower still stands, but just for the moment.
Kalas has his ultimate, and emilitoo is getting pretty low here, but has the gaggle of bodyguards surrounding him. Good luck getting an auto attack in between all of those members. I mean, Energy lose Yammyn very quickly because Deathwalker basically 1v5s and is able to kill Yammyn in the midst of all that chaos. The front line from Rival, or from Energy rather, a little bit distracted with the rest of the fight. But Rival there's very few universes where they ever win that fight outright, because they came into that fight with exactly 0 magical penetration, with 2 big magical damage dealers, where of course the enemy team is going to be itemizing against that. I mean, an Oni Hunter Garb for emilZy, a Spirit Robe, we'll give him that. 2 Hide of the Urchins, both with multiple stacks, about halfway done for maniaKK and for adapting. A Pestilence for maniaKK. I mean, there is just no way Wlfy and iceice can do damage from there when they've got pen boots each. It's just not enough.
And also, just out of the itemization, Hebo is one of the characters that doesn't have a gear shift, right? If Najah goes 0-4, 0-5, he can build tanky and control the game, right? He can just be a stun bot. Thor, same thing. Hebo is like a Kali, right? If you're not doing damage, you ain't doing nothing.
Doing nothing so far. Tier 2 tower siege going on, as might be over before it really begins. It's already gone, as the focus is really on the iceicebaby, who ultimates away, does hit emilZy and does some good damage. Deathwalker gets the finishing blow, but Rival still in a bad spot.
Hero is getting there, and that's going to be a scary moment if he does. Yammyn takes care of Deathwalker, and Wlfy going to be worm food. The Lotus Prince picking up another kill. 2-0-10 for the Swedish jungler. Adapting with 10 assists. He's been doing a ton of work, but it's all been take him up, bring him down. Hey, Yammyn, here's a kill.
He's played so well so far. Great Mez in response to the blink from Kalas prevents the other Mez. Kalas still pushing forward, and there's just no real damage coming. Vote is coming in, but adapting in the rest of Energy still too healthy.
emilitoo now looking really good. Gonna use the Aegis. Oh, he avoids the ring bounce damage. emilitoo takes care of Vote as well. Double kill. Deicide. Game. Energy. This, we're halfway through. This is the beginning of the second half of the split here, Ryan.
Yep.
And Energy, they came through in the summer and looked to be a league above that of the other Pro League teams at LAN.
Sure.
They embarrassed Rival in the finals, honestly. Yep. Now, variables, Alpha Jackal, etc. But Energy looked like a different team day one of the fall split to Summer LAN in a bad way.
Yes.
And here, this is the Energy team that I thought we would see week 1.
Frankly, that was probably the least exciting Rival Energy match in years. That was effortless from Rival,
it really
or
was.
from NRG rather. Rival just kind of rolled over. I think it was comp. I think it was execution, and I hope Rival's able to go back to the drawing board because I expected more than that coming into that game.
I completely agree. Adapting seemed to have a really big control of the game there, but open-ended question, who is your MVP? Is what we asked y'all out there in Mixer chat. Like I said, Slashline's deceptive, 2-0-10 before that last Phoenix push. Adapting really drove a lot of the game for me. Yammyn just kind of put the icing on the cake.
Yeah, I think it was either adapting or emilitoo. Emil's rotations with the Apollo were huge. Really the only player from Rival who should feel okay about that performance in my mind. Deathwalker made some plays but was set behind pretty early on by lack of ward coverage. Vote's solo kill I thought was the only light in the darkness there for Rival.
Yeah.
So maybe you try and prioritize that Chernobog again. I have no problem with that, but Rival's got to do something different than that.
Yep. Hebo didn't work out. Game number 2, what will? Let's bring it down on the desk.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Ryan. A big Game 1 victory there for NRG that they much needed. And they came out looking very, very strong for my money on that one, Taco. They punished this Pele solo early. They were able to keep iceicebaby down as well. What kind of stood out for you as like the big thing there from NRG?
NRG kind of just beat Rival at their own game because all Rival wanted to do is probably just passively farm a little bit, try and rely on a bit of a slower pace of the match in order to get their damage carries online, or at least allow Deathwalker a little bit more time, but Adapting was just able to freely aggress into solo time and time again. iceicebaby unable to really provide much backup early on because as a Habois, you're simply too squishy into the Ninja. So Deathwalker kind of just continuously gets abused in solo lane, and Rival are unable to alleviate that pressure because they can't gank anywhere else on the map. Everywhere else is just so safe for NRG, and I think that was the big problem for Rival.
I'm right there with you. I really feel like, I think a big part of it was getting that Naja, in all honesty. iceicebaby has looked so good on it so far here in the fall split, and I know they went with the Pele on the back end of it, so they might not have won it anyway, but he just looked so good on it for them, especially in the early game, making some big plays happen to the point where it sounds like he's the one that was selected as the MVP there from everyone else at home. So good choice on that one. I think he had a big impact. But talk to me a little bit about, what goes wrong in the solo lane. I know a lot of people are going, Pele solo, what happened there? Let's, I guess, kind of talk about it a little bit.
Adapting just got the ball rolling there for maniaKK because out on the Cerberus by himself, maniaKK probably unable to really try and do anything or look to punish Deathwalker. But the moment that Adapting started paying a little bit more attention and heavily focusing out Deathwalker, honestly, there's just not much that a Pele can do by herself, and you want to call for your jungler to come over, but okay, that's fine. Even if iceicebaby had gone over to gank, then that would have just resulted in Rival losing out on all of their jungle farm in mid and duo. And I think that was the problem, was that NRG just had too much side lane pressure. So I want to see Rival kind of prioritize their side lanes a little bit better.
Yeah, try and get them in a better spot. To be, for what it's worth, I think Vote was doing okay. It's just that once the team fire started breaking out, emilitoo was in a better spot to follow up on his team than Vote was with his. Because early on, Yammyn did a good job staying safe, I feel like. There were a couple times where there were some rotations coming in. He was just able to kind of juke through, drop the ult, make it back out as well.
Well, we say it all the time. Chernobog is one of the best team fighting ultimates out there, but that's the key word, is team fight. And for Vote, it didn't feel like he was ever able to participate in a team fight. It didn't feel like Rival were able to do anything more than just attempt to disengage. And even then, NRG would usually just run them right down.
Do you think it's something where they shouldn't prioritize the Pele again? Because it wasn't immediate. It was like in the second pick phase. Or do you think that's something where, that wasn't the problem and they just need pressure a little bit more spots?
I think they just need a little bit more pressure from the jungle. Don't give me iceicebaby Habois again. That's all I'm asking for. We know what Iceice is capable of.
Absolutely.
And I just don't want to see him on the Habois. He's so better off with some kind of heavy brute force assassin or even warrior like the Robin, and I just want to see Iceice on a better pick.